The law office of Peton and Associates was tucked into a renovated Victorian on Main Street, its windows reflecting the autumn leaves I'd driven through to get here. I stood outside for a moment, checking the address again, wondering if this was some elaborate prank. The text had come at 6 a.m. Miss Sarah Walsh, your presence is required at the reading of Margaret Walsh's last will and testament. 2 p.m. today. Urgent. Grandma had been dead for 3 weeks, during which my family had thoroughly shut me out of everything: the funeral planning, the memorial service, even the burial. According to my cousin Emma's nastily triumphant Facebook post, I was no longer considered family after the Thanksgiving incident. The Thanksgiving incident where I'd finally told my Uncle Charles what I thought of his investment schemes, targeting elderly neighbors, where I'd refused to keep quiet about Aunt Linda's theft from the church fundraiser, where I'd committed the cardinal sin of calling out the Walsh family's casual cruelty and criminal behavior. We already divided everything. My Aunt Linda's voice carried through the door as I reached for the handle. Mother's jewelry, the house, the investments. You weren't invited for a reason. I pushed open the door to find the entire family already assembled in the conference room like a pack of well-dressed hyenas. Uncle Charles sat at the head of the table. Naturally, Aunt Linda clutched a folder of what looked like real estate documents. My cousins Emma, Bradley, and Jessica were busy on their phones, probably already spending their inheritance. They all looked up when I entered. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. What the hell is she doing here? Emma stood up so fast her chair scraped against the hardwood. Security. I was invited, I said quietly, holding up my phone with the text. By whom? Charles demanded. We specifically told Peton that you were no longer welcome at family functions. Mr. Peton himself, a distinguished man in his 70s with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, cleared his throat. I invited her as the executive of Mrs. Walsh's will. It's my legal obligation. There must be some mistake, Linda said smoothly, the same voice she'd used to explain why $30,000 went missing from the church building fund. Sarah hasn't been part of this family for months. Mother was very clear about that after her disgraceful behavior. Disgraceful? I found my voice. I told the truth. That's what you call disgraceful. You tried to destroy this family. Bradley spat, spreading lies about Dad's business. Your dad's business is a pyramid scheme targeting seniors. I interrupted. 3 of Grandma's friends lost their life savings. Allegations, Charles said coldly, and proven allegations from a bitter, jealous girl who couldn't stand to see her family succeed. Should we call the police? Jessica suggested sweetly. She's trespassing. Mr. Peton stood up, his voice carrying surprising authority. Enough. Everyone please sit down. We have a will to read. We've already handled the distribution, Linda said, pulling out her folder. We did it privately as a family. Mother had dementia near the end. Any will you have is clearly outdated dementia. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Grandma was sharp as a tack. Until the day she died, she did the New York Times crossword in pen every morning, which you'd know if you'd bothered to visit. Emma shot back. Oh wait, you couldn't because we had a restraining order. A restraining order you got by lying to a judge. I reminded her. One that Grandma tried to fight. Mrs. Walsh's mental capacity is not in question, Mr. Peton interrupted firmly. She updated her will 6 weeks ago in my presence with a psychiatric evaluation confirming her complete competency. The room went quiet. I saw Linda and Charles exchange worried glances. Furthermore, Mr. Peton continued, pulling out a thick document. She included a video recording of her intentions specifically to avoid any confusion. He set up a small laptop on the table. Grandma's face appeared on the screen and my heart clenched. She looked tired but determined, wearing the cardigan I'd knitted her last Christmas, the one Linda had said she'd thrown away. Hello, my dear ones, Grandma's voice filled the room. If you're watching this, then I'm gone and you're probably all gathered like vultures ready to pick over my bones. Charles shifted uncomfortably. I want to address the elephant in the room first, or rather the missing elephant. Sarah, sweetheart, I know they've tried to keep you away. I know about the restraining order, the lies they told about you threatening me. For the record, the only threat you ever posed was to their schemes and their secrets. This is manipulated, Linda said quickly. She's clearly being coached. Shut up, Linda. Grandma's recording continued as if she'd heard. Yes, you, Linda, shut up and listen for once in your greedy life. I know about the church money. I know about Charles's pyramid scheme. I know about Bradley's drug dealing and Jessica's credit card fraud using my information. And I know about Emma's little side business selling fake designer goods. The color drained from their faces one by one. Sarah was the Only one brave enough to tell me the truth, the only one who loved me more than my money, so let me be crystal clear about my wishes. Mr. Peton paused the video and pulled out the will. Should I continue with the video, or would you prefer I simply read the distributions? Just read it, Charles said weakly. Mr. Peton adjusted his glasses, but her name is the only one in the will. The room went deadly silent. You could have heard a pin drop or a fortune collapse. That's impossible, Linda whispered to my son Charles. Mr. Peton read, I leave the collection of Ponzi scheme brochures I've been saving from your office trash. May they serve as evidence in your upcoming federal investigation. Charles's face went from red to purple to white. To my daughter Linda, I leave the empty collection plate from First Methodist, along with a note explaining to Pastor Williams exactly where his building fund went. Linda's mouth opened and closed like a fish. To Bradley, I leave my collection of addiction recovery pamphlets in the hope that you'll use them before the DEA catches up with you. To Jessica, I leave all the credit cards you opened in my name, canceled of course, with fraud alerts filed. To Emma, I leave my genuine Hermes scarf, the one you swapped for a fake thinking I wouldn't notice. This is insane, Emma shrieked. She can't do this to my granddaughter Sarah. Mr. Peton continued, his voice warming, I leave everything else, the house on Maple Street, all bank accounts, investment portfolios, my jewelry collection, and the contents of safety deposit boxes 1 through 4 at First National Bank. Additionally, I name Sarah as the sole beneficiary of my life insurance policies and retirement accounts. How much? Bradley demanded. How much is everything else? Mr. Peton consulted his notes. The combined estate value is approximately $4.7 million. The explosion was immediate. Charles lunged across the table, only stopped by Mr. Peton's surprisingly quick reflexes. Linda started sobbing theatrically. Emma threw her phone at the wall. Jessica began frantically texting probably her lawyer. We'll contest this, Charles snarled. Undue influence, elder abuse, mental incompetence. I wouldn't recommend that, Mr. Peton said calmly. He clicked play on the video again. Grandma's face reappeared. Now I know what you're thinking. You're going to contest this. We'll claim I was crazy or manipulated, so let me show you something. The camera panned to show a wall covered in documents, photos, evidence. Charles, that's your office after hours, isn't it? Taking money from Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, who lost their home because of you. Linda, that's you at the church safe. Bradley, those are your drug deals in the parking lot. Yes, I had a private investigator. Jessica, every fraudulent purchase is documented. Emma, your storage unit full of fake goods is cataloged. The camera returned to Grandma's face. Contest this will, and all of this goes to the authorities. Sarah doesn't know I have this evidence. She's too good to blackmail you, but I'm not. I'm a bitter old woman who's tired of watching her family rot from the inside while persecuting the only decent person among them. You can't threaten us, Linda said weakly. That's extortion. It's insurance. Grandma corrected from the video. Accept the will quietly and your secrets die with me. Fight it, and Mr. Peton has instructions to forward everything to the appropriate authorities. Your choice. The video ended. The room was tomb silent. I don't want this, I said finally. Everyone turned to stare at me. Not like this, not with threats, and don't you dare. Charles hissed, don't you dare pretend to be noble now. You turned her against us. You poisoned her mind. I told her the truth. I said simply something none of you ever did. Mr. Peton pulled out another envelope. Mrs. Walsh anticipated Sarah might feel this way. She left you a personal letter. I opened it with shaking hands. Grandma's handwriting still elegant despite her age. My dearest Sarah, I know your heart. I know you'll want to share. To be fair, to give them another chance. That's why I love you. You got all the kindest genes in this family, but sweetness they've had chances. Every holiday, every birthday, every Sunday dinner was a chance to be better. Instead they got worse, and when you finally stood up to them, they tried to destroy you. The money isn't punishment or revenge, it's protection. It's freedom. It's my way of saying thank you for being the only one who visited because you loved me, not my bank account, who brought me tea and gossip, not investment schemes and sob stories. Use it well. Start that nonprofit you talked about. Help the people Charles heard do all the good they never will. And if you feel guilty, remember this, I'm not giving you their inheritance, I'm giving you mine. They stole their share long ago. From neighbors, from churches, from me. Consider the slate clean, all my love. Grandma P. The house has a new security system. They don't have the code. I looked up to find them all staring at me with mixtures of rage, desperation, and calculation. Sarah, Linda said, her voice suddenly sweet, we're family. Surely we can work something out the way you worked something out when you banned me from Grandma's funeral. I asked when you Told everyone I was a dangerous mentally unstable person who threatened an old lady when you tried to have me arrested. For sending Grandma flowers. That was a misunderstanding, Emma said quickly. We were protecting Grandma from the only person who actually loved her. I stood up, folding the letter carefully. No, I'm done. Mr. Peton, what do I need to sign? Just these papers, he said, sliding them over. I should mention that your grandmother also set up a generous donation to the Elder Fraud Prevention Fund in honor of Charles's victims, as she put it. She was quite specific about the wording for the plaque. Charles made a sound like a wounded animal as I signed my name. I felt their eyes burning into me. The niece they'd mocked for driving a beat up Honda while they flashed their leased luxury cars. The granddaughter they'd called too sensitive and holier than thou for refusing to participate in their schemes. This isn't over, Jessica threatened. Well, find a way, Mr. Peton, I interrupted. Please note that Jessica just threatened me. I'd like that documented in case anything happens. Noted, he said, making a show of writing it down. I should also mention that Mrs. Walsh arranged for a forensic accountant to review all family financial transactions for the past 5 years. Just as a precaution, those results will be interesting. The mass exodus was immediate. They filed out, throwing threats and curses over their shoulders, promising lawsuits and revenge. Emma paused at the door. You know we'll make your life hell, she said quietly. Every family event, every holiday, every wedding and funeral, you'll be alone. I've been alone at every family event since I told the truth, I reminded her. At least now I'll be alone in peace. After they left, Mr. Peton helped me gather the paperwork. Your grandmother was a remarkable woman, he said. She talked about you constantly. Said you were the only one who inherited her conscience along with her eyes. I still feel guilty, I admitted. They're awful, but their family know, he corrected gently. Their relatives' family shows up. Family tells the truth. Family doesn't steal from churches and scam the elderly. Your grandmother knew the difference. She hoped you would too. As I drove home in my beat-up Honda past the house on Maple Street that was now mine, I thought about Grandma's last words to me before the restraining order. She'd gripped my hand and whispered, "Don't let them dim your light, sweetheart. Sometimes the black sheep is the only one who isn't a wolf." My phone buzzed with texts, threats from Charles, manipulation from Linda, sob stories from the cousins. I deleted them all unread, but the last message made me smile. It was from Mrs. Patterson, one of Charles's victims. Heard the news your grandmother would be so proud. Tomorrow maybe I'd lost my relatives, but Grandma had left me something better than money or property. She'd left me free.